I'm going to remind everyone that from that 19-game stretch, Christmas Day up through the last shot game that LeBron hit the other night against the T-Wolves, over those 19 games, that's a big body of work. It's like, about a fourth of the NBA season. LeBron James had by far the worst plus-minus in the whole league of 518 players. So it wasn't all his fault, but it was a whole lot of his fault if, in fact, he's still the best player on the planet. But he is now re-energized, he's revitalized, and yet the pressure is squarely on LeBron now because Dan Gilbert must be laughing somewhere, at least chortling, that he put the ball right back in LeBron's court, not only just to go ahead and live up to what he's got now to work with this year to win the East, walk away with the East, but now LeBron is under fire, maybe has to feel more pressure to come back to Cleveland next year because they kept the Brooklyn pick. They gave up their first this year, but no big deal because now it certainly looks like they should be able to waltz right into the finals, so they would have no better than the second to last pick in the first round. Wow, that's not a big price to pay for what you just got back. So way to go, Dan Gilbert. But that brings us back to the Celtics. And again, I'm a big Kyrie fan. There's one big X factor out there, one big sort of nuclear factor in Boston, and that's Gordon Hayward. I'm not at all going to be surprised if he makes it back for the last few weeks of the regular season, and if he can get it back in gear and does get 100% healthy on his busted up ankle, which I think is highly possible, I would give all of a sudden Kyrie's new team a much better shot against LeBron's new team in the Eastern Conference Finals. The other X factor on the other side is we saw the Spurs last night hang in for a half against Golden State, but I just don't love the way Golden State's playing this year. I just don't. It's just hard to keep the fire burning quite as hot as it burned before. Do I respect it? Sure, it's just loaded. Is it the best team? Yes, it is. Unless Kawhi Leonard comes back healthy and, more important, happy. Again, I've said this many times, got great sources on this one. Nobody in San Antonio, internally or even externally, other doctors they've sought opinions from, other physical therapists they've sought opinions from, can figure out what's wrong with Kawhi's thigh. He's got some kind of quad malady. I don't know what it is. They don't know what it is because they can't find anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with his joints. They can't find any soft tissue injury, but he keeps saying he has pain. Okay? So they finally said, you go do it, Kawhi. Heal yourself. You tell us when you're ready to come back. Well, I don't know if that's going to be this year or not, but if it is sooner than later, if in, say, a couple of weeks from now, even a month from now, if Kawhi finally says, I'm okay, I can go, and he eases right back into the fray, to me, the best team in the West is the Spurs because they're the deepest team in the West. If they get Tony Parker healthy, I know he's up there in years, but if Ginobili stays healthy, he's Brady-esque now at age 40. I got to tell you, I really like the Spurs. If they can get Rudy Gay back, I know he had Achilles surgery, and then he tweaked his heel, and I hope it isn't connected to the Achilles. But that team, if healthy and happy, that's the deepest and best team in the West. I love that team, and I like its chances. And I remind you, it was up 23 in the third quarter of Game 1 until Zaza Pachushot, happy birthday, Zaza, stuck his big old size, whatever it is, 18 or whatever, sneaker under Kawhi's foot, and there went the ankle, and there went the series. So Zaza Pachushot, it was the MVP of the Western Conference Finals a year ago, but I'm just not sure Golden State is a done deal if the Spurs get right. I like Houston. There's something missing in James Harden's psyche. There's something missing in Chris Paul III's psyche. It's just something wrong. When his push comes to shove in a big postseason game, such as Game 6 last year, a closeout game in Houston, do you remember what happened to James Harden? Well, you can't remember much because he completely disappeared, and that's the James Harden you ultimately can't trust. It's happened to Chris Paul numerous times in the postseason. You ultimately can't trust him. So it's down to those two, and they keep stockpiling studs and backups, and it's a loaded basketball team, but the Spurs will be better because they have higher basketball character if they get happy and healthy, which brings us back to LeBron's team. I'm serious about this. From what I saw today, That team certainly is the favorite in the East. And depending on what happens to the Spurs, depending on the morale, the psyche, the mindset of Golden State, from what I saw today, it clicked well enough in Game 1 together because everybody got out of a situation, again, that they didn't want to be in, including all the current Cavs that are left and all the newcomer Cavs. They all got free of something they didn't like. You know, George Hill was stuck in Sacramento, just stuck and didn't want to be there. He just took the deal, you know, took the money. And now everybody fell right into their spots today. All the pegs fit today. Everybody was in a role that everybody loved. And I haven't even mentioned Larry Nance Jr. I just have always liked him because he's a very talented overachiever. He wants to do the right thing, play the right way. He doesn't have a big ego. He will play defense. He will defend. It gives them a little bit more rim protection. They don't have great rim protection, but their defense was much more active today. LeBron was much more active on defense for the first time all year because he's just been horrendous on defense because he just quit. He just didn't care about playing defense for his team, for Isaiah Thomas, or for Dan Gilbert. Now it's back in sync. Everything's in rhythm. That team got, the more I think about it, 150% better in 1 hour before trade deadline as all those trades fell together. I wish that LeBron James would somehow tip his cap publicly to Dan Gilbert. Maybe he's doing it in the locker room as we speak right now, but he owes Dan Gilbert. Again, I wouldn't have gone back to Dan Gilbert, but still, after what he did, again, I'm going to remind everybody, Dan Gilbert accused LeBron James of quitting against the Boston Celtics of Paul Pierce and Garnett and Rondo, Ray Allen, in that final playoff series before he took his talents to South Beach. Accused him of quitting, and LeBron sucked it up and went back and rejoined forces with Dan Gilbert, sort of peacefully coexisted with him at least for a while, was killing him this year. They had that team meeting, and it was reported that LeBron was just screaming across the table at the executives saying, "What are you guys doing?" And it got profane. And those guys, they might have won a championship. They hit the biggest walk-off shot at the trade deadline I have ever seen. Ever seen. It's the biggest trade just in numbers in the last 22 years at the trade deadline, but it scored. You could just see it today. That team is going to be hellacious hard to beat in the postseason. And it didn't take a week or 3 weeks or 5 weeks to gel. I thought they gelled today. I thought they clicked. They were in sync. They seemed to like each other. Way to go, Dan Gilbert. And yet there was LeBron after the game. It was easy for him to do this time. He sought out Kyrie. He went over to Kyrie. He hugged Kyrie, and obviously Kyrie's going to hug him back because LeBron didn't have any problem with Kyrie, but LeBron is trying to protect his image, his commercial-making image, his endorsement image. He still wants to be seen as the nice guy, the bigger man. Remember, he had the first pick in the All-Star draft, and he took Kevin Durant, the guy who beat him out in the finals and was the MVP of the finals. So it's like sort of sucking up to Kevin Durant. And then in his next pick, he took Kyrie Irving, sucking up to Kyrie. You're kidding me. I mean, I don't know. That's why you can't even put LeBron in the same sentence with Michael Jeffrey Jordan, because Jordan wouldn't have done that. Jordan would be like, hell with him and hell with him. And again, I've reported this often on Undisputed, 9:30 to noon Eastern, Fox Sports 1. I've said many times that I have a source very close to Kyrie. He was just sick of all things LeBron. Sick of him. He just couldn't take the divaness. The point the source told me was that Kyrie was convinced that LeBron was more concerned at this point in his career in building stats than in winning championships. And he did average, obviously, a triple-double in the finals. And Kyrie just was sick and tired of it and couldn't take it another year. And that's the kind of guy who's willing to sit out a year if he has to, just to make his point. He needs some cleanup knee surgery. He said, well, I'll just go ahead and get my knee cleaned up then. I don't want to play anymore. And Dan Gilbert finally took him at his word, because Kyrie is a man of his word. This is a very principled, different young man. And he just said, okay, I got to get it. I got to do this deal. And Dan Gilbert does the deal with Boston. And I said on Undisputed the next day, I didn't like it. You gave up Kyrie Irving to Boston. And I know you got your pick back, that Brooklyn pick, but I'm not an Isaiah Thomas guy. I'm just not. 5'9" ball hog point guard who has no interest in playing defense, and even if he does, he can't. Seriously? Coming off a serious hip injury, which could be Bo Jackson-like in the long term. It could be such that it just nags him and probably perhaps forces him to just hang him up at some point, because sometimes when you tear your labrum in your hip, you just can't ever quite get it right. And now Isaiah looked like he'd gained a little weight, which is not unexpected. He looks a little chunky at 5'9", but anyway, that's what you got back for Kyrie Irving. It was a horrible deal, and Dan Gilbert just salvaged it. He swallowed his pride because he liked Isaiah, reportedly, personally, liked him a lot. They were text buddies, and he'd taken kind of a little personal shine to him, and he swallowed his pride, and he gave up the two guys that he traded for, Isaiah and Jay Crowder. Wow, he just swallowed his pride and gave them both up and said, okay, I give up. I'm going to try to salvage this trade for Kyrie, and he did. And all of a sudden, he put Cleveland right back in the driver's seat. Heck, in the catbird seat. They're driving the Ferrari now. My God, way to go. So LeBron can kiss up to Kyrie all he wants, and now he's in a power position. He's playing from a position of strength. But LeBron still wants to look like the nice guy. I think he can be too nice of a guy for his own good. I like LeBron personally. I always have. But the point is, Dan Gilbert did him a huge favor. So now, pressure's on LeBron. Can he live up? Today he did. He was sensational today. That was vintage LeBron. If he is re-energized, if he can continue to play hard on the defensive end, and this team can continue to feed off him, I'll just say it right here, right now. I give him a decent shot. Heck, I give him a 50-50 shot, that team I saw today, of dethroning Golden State in the finals. That's if Golden State can get to the finals. Whew, what a day. What a week. And by the way, I'm going to end with one quick comment on last week's Super Bowl. Lane Johnson continues to talk big, bad WWE kind of talk against the Patriots. He said before the game, obviously the week before the game, he said Tom Brady was a pretty boy that he wanted to dethrone. And now that he won, thanks to Bill Belichick not playing Malcolm Butler one snap, I thought it was almost a sabotage-y feeling move. After Bill Belichick lost the power struggle to get rid of Tom Brady after this year. And now Lane Johnson can talk. He benefited from that as Belichick's defense gave up 41 points in the Super Bowl. And way to go, Lane Johnson. So now he says the Patriots have no fun because they have to play in a fear-based organization. And I say this to you, Lane Johnson. I hope you enjoy your one and only ring. I hope you have fun with your one and only ring, because I don't think you're going to win another one. And trust me, Tom Brady has a really good time playing football. That's why he's still playing as he approaches age 41. That's why I think he's going to play for at least 3 more years into his middle 40s. And I think he's going to play at an MVP caliber level, as I said, going into this year, and all he did was win the MVP. He has a blast playing football, and I would suggest he's had much more fun playing football and getting to 5 Super Bowls, playing in 8 Super Bowls, than Lane Johnson even had playing in his 1 Super Bowl. That's my final thought. Ernestine and I are on vacation here in Las Vegas for this week. Shannon and I are on vacation from Undisputed, but we will be back a week from tomorrow. Undisputed, 9:30 to noon Eastern on Fox Sports 1. Now, my final thought. Last night in Las Vegas, we saw Diana Ross. To me, she's the queen. She put on a sensational show at age 74. I swear to you, she could have been 24. I'm not exaggerating. We saw her right here in Las Vegas last night. It was just all-time greatness. At its height, she looks great. Her voice, trust me, Diana Ross's voice is as powerful and piercing today as it ever was. I was just blown away. I was just sort of mesmerized. She did an hour and a half of her hits, and The crowd was just knocked over. It was sold out. Tonight, we go see Elton John. I hope he can measure up to the Queen, Diana Ross. I'll let you know how it goes. Skip Bayless signing off from Las Vegas. Over and out on Facebook.